It started with a sound only one person could hear. Elias Marsh had lived in Black Hollow his whole life. A sleepy Appalachian town wrapped in thick woods and hushed traditions. Black Hollow was the kind of place where strangers were noticed, but secrets were not shared. Most people worked the mills, hunted the forests, or lived off the land like their fathers and grandfathers had before them. Elias was 13 the first time he heard the bell. It was early autumn, the kind of evening where fog curled like ghost fingers between the trees, and the mountains loomed like old gods watching from above. He was walking home from school, kicking at red and yellow leaves scattered on the dirt road that snaked through the forest. That's when it rang. A bell. Deep, hollow, mournful. It didn't sound like the school bell or the church bell either. It was different, older. He froze, scanning the tree line, but saw nothing. The sound came again, low and dragging like it had to claw its way through the earth before reaching him. Elias squinted into the mist, heart tapping at his ribs, and whispered, "Who's there?" The wind answered with silence. When he got home, he asked his mother if there were any other churches nearby. She turned from the stove, narrowed her eyes, and said sharply, "Why?" "I just thought I heard a bell. On the road." His mother's face stiffened. Her lips pressed into a line. "You didn't. But I—" "You didn't," she said again. "We don't talk about bells in this house." Elias stared at her. "Why not?" She shook her head. "Some things stay quiet. You do best to forget it." But Elias couldn't. That night he lay awake, staring at the dark knot of the ceiling while the silence outside grew heavy. Then, just past midnight, it rang again. Louder this time. Closer. He shot up in bed, heart pounding. His window rattled faintly, like something had moved just beyond it. But when he peeled back the curtain, he saw nothing but trees. At school the next day, he asked his friend Sawyer if he'd heard anything strange the night before. Sawyer looked up from his tray of greasy fries and said, "Like what?" "A bell." Sawyer froze for just a second too long. "You heard it?" Elias asked. Sawyer shifted uncomfortably, lowering his voice. "My grandpa told me there used to be a church out past the West Woods. Said it was abandoned after a fire 100 years ago. Folks who tried to rebuild kept dying. He said the bell still rings sometimes, but only for certain people." Elias leaned in. "What people?" "People it wants," Sawyer whispered. "He said if you follow the sound, you don't come back right." Elias's skin crawled. That night, Elias did not intend to follow the bell, but he heard it again, this time even closer, and something deep inside him, something not entirely his own, pulled him from his bed. The air outside was cold and damp. Mist floated above the ground in thick layers. The trees were black silhouettes, motionless and watching. He stepped barefoot onto the dirt path and walked, drawn like a sleepwalker. The bell tolled again, deeper now, vibrating through his chest like thunder in a cave. The road twisted left, then split into two paths. One led toward town. The other veered into the part of the forest no one liked to talk about. He chose the forest. It didn't make sense. He was afraid. He could feel the fear clawing at the back of his mind. But his legs moved like they weren't his. His breath fogged in front of him as the trees closed in. Then he saw it. A church. It stood crooked and blackened, the wood scorched and covered in vines. Its windows were shattered, and the steeple leaned as though the building were too tired to stand upright. Yet, impossibly, a bell hung from the top, and it was swaying. There was no rope, no wind, but it rang. Elias stepped closer, drawn forward. The moment his foot touched the mossy stone step, the air shifted. The sounds of the forest vanished. No owls, no rustling, not even the wind. Just the bell, now silent, as if it had been waiting for him. And then the door creaked open. Inside, it smelled of wet ashes and old wood. The pews were half-rotted, overgrown with vines that slithered through the floorboards like veins. Shards of stained glass clung stubbornly to the window frames, throwing fractured bits of red and blue light across the walls, even though there was no moonlight, no stars. Only black mist pressing against every crack in the building. Elias stepped forward. The floor creaked under his bare feet. In the shadows ahead, something shifted, subtle, deliberate. He paused, heart hammering, but his legs kept moving. There was a strange warmth rising from the center aisle, like the breath of something alive beneath the earth. Then he saw it, a figure kneeling in front of the altar. It was dressed in dark robes, still and silent. A hood obscured its face, and a chain ran from its neck to the bell tower above, vanishing into the shadows like a tether to something unseen. The moment Elias saw it, he wanted to turn back, to run, but he couldn't. The same force that had drawn him here now pushed him forward like an invisible hand at his back. The figure spoke, its voice a rasp of stone and smoke. "You heard the bell." Elias couldn't answer. His lips moved, but no sound came out. The figure stood slowly, impossibly tall. The chain groaned above. They always come when they hear it. The blood remembers. The bones answer. What is this place?" Elias managed to whisper. The figure turned. Beneath the hood was no face, only a hollow black void that flickered like firelight in a tunnel. This was a house of worship once, then of silence. Now it is a door. A door to what? The figure tilted its head. To what's beneath? With a gesture, the floor between the pews cracked open with a low groan. A circular pit yawned wide, rimmed with ancient stone and etched with symbols Elias couldn't read but somehow understood. They felt familiar, like something from a dream he'd had long ago, or a story whispered to him in the womb. The air rushed upward from the pit, hot and rank, and Elias felt it tugging at his skin, his thoughts. "You are of the hollow," the figure said. "Your family buried what should not have been woken, but it sings to you now, it wants out." "I don't understand," Elias said, voice shaking. "You will." The figure stepped back into the darkness. The chain above clanged once, twice, and then silence. Elias stood alone before the pit, and something moved inside it. Not like an animal, not like anything living on the surface of the earth. It was too large, too slow, like a tide beneath stone, like the dreaming turn of a mountain waking in its sleep. A low hum rose from below, not sound, but vibration. Elias felt it in his bones. He turned and ran, out the ruined doors, through the trees, back along the fog-drenched path until he saw the edge of town and the lights of his house flickering like desperate candles. He didn't sleep that night. The next morning he told his mother everything. She slapped him, hard. "You went to the bell," she hissed, tears already falling from her eyes. "You fool. I didn't mean to. It called me. That's what it does. That's what it always does. That's why we don't talk about it. That's why we stay away." She grabbed his face between her hands and stared into his eyes like she was searching for something buried deep. "Do you feel it still? The pull?" He hesitated. "Yes," he said quietly. Her shoulders slumped, and she looked older in that moment than he had ever seen her. Then it's too late. He didn't go to school that day, or the next. By the third night, the bell rang again, louder than before. This time, the sound didn't just echo, it shook. The windows rattled in their panes, dishes fell from shelves. A neighbor's dog began howling in agony, a long, twisted wail that didn't stop even after it was silenced. Elias sat on the edge of his bed, hands pressed over his ears. But the bell wasn't just in the air anymore. It was in his teeth, in his spine, humming behind his eyes. He could feel its pull like a current, like gravity bending everything inward. His mother burst into the room, breathless, holding a suitcase and an old cloth bag bound in twine. "We're leaving," she said. "What?" "Now. Pack nothing. Take your shoes. Let's go." But she crossed the room in 2 steps and gripped his shoulders so tight he thought she might break him. "They warned me this could happen, that it might come for you too. We have to get out before." A knock at the front door. Not loud. Just wrong. 3 slow knocks like bone against wood. His mother's face went pale. Her lips trembled. She let go of him and moved to the window, pulling the curtain just an inch aside. She gasped. No. Elias stood slowly, heart climbing his throat. "What is it?" "Don't look," she said. "Whatever you do, don't look." But it was too late. He was already at the other window, already pulling the curtain open just enough to see the figure standing outside. It was the same figure from the church. Still robed, still faceless, but now it carried something. A lantern made of twisted iron and stained glass, glowing with a cold blue light. That light pulsed in rhythm with the bell, and Elias realized the bell was no longer ringing from far away. It was ringing from the lantern itself. The figure raised its head, or what passed for it, and tilted the lantern slightly. The blue light struck Elias full in the face. He couldn't move, couldn't blink. He felt himself sinking, as if the floor beneath his feet had become water. He heard a voice, not aloud, but within him, whispering in 1,000 broken tongues. "You are blood of the last key. You are the door undone. Come, come now." His mother screamed, snapping him out of it. She grabbed his arm, dragging him away from the window, knocking over furniture as they fled to the back door. Outside, the sky had turned a sickly red, and ash floated down like snow. She shoved him into the old pickup truck, already running. She must have started it before waking him. "Don't look back," she kept saying. "Don't look back. Don't look back." The tires tore through gravel as they sped away, down the dirt road that led toward the old highway. Behind them, the bell was still tolling, still calling, still humming in Elias's veins. They drove all night, never stopping, through dead towns, shuttered gas stations, forests burned black at the edges. They didn't talk. His mother's eyes stayed fixed ahead, knuckles white on the steering wheel. Only when dawn finally broke, gray and distant, did they stop, at a boarded-up rest stop by the state line. She pulled into the lot, killed the engine, and sat in silence. "What is it?" Elias asked. "Why me? What is that thing?" She opened the cloth bag she'd brought and pulled out a bundle wrapped in faded silk. Inside was a book, old, bound in leather, the color of dried blood, sealed with 3 iron clasps. "I was hoping I'd never have to open this again," she said. She unfastened the clasps. The air around them shifted, grew colder, heavier, like stepping underwater. The pages were handwritten, filled with diagrams of symbols, family trees, warnings. "This," she said, "is our curse. Your grandfather made a pact during the famine. He thought he was saving us, saving the town. But he only opened a crack. In the hollow?" She nodded. That's what they call it. It's not a place. Not really. It's beneath everything. Beneath time. Beneath us." She flipped to a page marked with a black ribbon. A drawing showed the bell, that same twisted iron bell from the church. "It was made by the first settlers here," she said. "Forged from metal dug out of the hollow itself. They didn't know what they were pulling up. Not at first." Elias leaned in. The script on the page was shaky, like it had been written by a trembling hand. "When the bell tolls, the blood will wake. When the door cracks, the hollow takes." He swallowed hard. "Why me?" "Because your blood is the last lock. And now," she closed the book, voice breaking, "now it's open." That night, as Elias lay in the back seat trying to sleep, the bell rang again. But this time, it didn't come from the church. It came from within him. He woke up choking on smoke. Not thick, black smoke, something paler, stranger. It glowed faintly in the air like fog lit from within. The truck's windows were fogged over. The world outside was red again, even though it should have been dawn. His mother was gone. The driver's seat was empty. The door hung open, swinging in the breeze. "Mom?" he croaked, scrambling upright. Silence. No birds, no wind, just that strange, low hum. The bell was silent now, but something had replaced it. A thrumming, like the blood in his ears was vibrating to some unspoken rhythm. He stepped outside. The rest stop had changed. The buildings were cracked and warped, like something beneath them had shifted. The sky was wrong, too close, pulsing with crimson clouds that moved like ink in water. The trees nearby were twisted into unnatural shapes, bent as if recoiling from something unseen. He found her footprints in the ash. They led away from the truck and toward the forest behind the rest stop, where a narrow path had opened, a path that hadn't been there before. The fog thickened as he walked, muffling every step, swallowing sound. Time lost meaning. He could have been walking for minutes or hours. The forest around him became unfamiliar, dreamlike, every tree covered in symbols carved deep into the bark. Then, ahead, a clearing. And in the center, his mother knelt on the ground, surrounded by figures in red robes. They didn't touch her. They just stood, their faces hidden by wooden masks. Elias counted 9 of them. He stepped forward. One of them turned toward him. "Elias Gray," the figure said. Its voice was like rust scraping stone. "The blood has answered." His mother raised her head, tears streaking her cheeks. "Run, Elias. You have to run." But he didn't, because something was rising behind the robed figures. At first, he thought it was a tree, but then it moved. A towering shape, stitched together from roots, bones, iron, and human faces. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all of them whispering in different voices, murmuring things he couldn't understand, but somehow remembered. The largest face, dead center, opened its eyes. It had his eyes. Elias fell to his knees. "What is this?" he whispered. The robed figure stepped closer. "This is the Hollow's gift. This is what your grandfather began, and what your father failed to finish. But you are the key." His mother screamed, breaking free, running toward Elias, but too late. The creature extended a limb, long, twisted, jointed in too many places, and touched her shoulder. She collapsed. Not dead, not asleep, frozen, mid-movement, as if she had been paused. Elias rushed to her side, grabbing her hand. "Mom? Mom?" She didn't blink, didn't breathe, didn't move. "You can stop this," the robed figure said. "You can free her. All it takes is one word." Elias looked up. What word? The face, his face, on the hollow's body opened its mouth and spoke, but no sound came out, only memory. Suddenly, he remembered. Being in the church basement, alone, hearing the bell before the first time, holding a candle, saying something in a forgotten tongue. The door had opened once already. He had done it. He had opened it. "I didn't mean to," Elias gasped. The robed figure nodded. "Intent means nothing to the hollow. Only blood. Only sound." The sky cracked open above them. A shaft of red light poured down, swallowing the clearing. The creature surged forward. The ground splintered. The trees screamed. Elias screamed with them. And then darkness. Pure and total, but not empty. Something moved in it, a presence, watching. And it whispered, "We are not done." He awoke again, but this time not in the truck, not at the rest stop. He was lying on a slab of stone, cold and slick beneath him. The air smelled like mold and salt. Above him, the ceiling was a dome of bone, actual human bones, interwoven like cathedral arches, etched with the same spiraling symbols he'd seen in the woods. He sat up, heart thudding. He was alone. No, not alone. A figure sat across the chamber in a high-backed chair made of antlers and braided rope. The fire between them flickered with a blue flame, casting shadows that bent in the wrong direction. It was his father, but not as he remembered. This man was older, gaunt. His face was cracked, as if made of dried clay, and his eyes glowed faintly red. "Elias," the man said, "I'm sorry you had to find out this way." He couldn't speak, could barely breathe. "You were never supposed to be part of this," his father continued. "But the bloodline is too strong. The hollow marks its own." Elias stood. "You're dead. You died in a fire." "I died," his father said. "But death doesn't mean what you think it does. Not here. Not to them." Elias's mind spun. "Where are we?" His father stood, bones creaking as he moved. "Beneath. That's all you need to know. The hollow doesn't exist in the normal world. It waits in the cracks, in the empty spaces between thought, between dreams, where forgotten things rot and whisper. Why me? Because you heard the bell. You answered it. Just like I did. Just like my father before me." Elias backed away. "I didn't choose this." "You did," his father said gently. "Even if you didn't know. When you stepped through that door as a boy, when you whispered that name, you invited it in. The hollow never takes without being invited." Elias's mouth went dry. "What name?" His father turned, and behind him the stone wall unraveled like wet paper, revealing a tunnel lined with masks. Hundreds of them. Each unique, each weeping a thin stream of black oil. At the end of the tunnel stood a door. A massive door made of bone and rusted iron, bound in barbed wire. And in the center of that door, carved deeper than the others, was the name. Korvalak. The word hit Elias like a hammer. It shuddered through his ribs, burned behind his eyes. He nearly vomited. "That's its name," his father whispered. "The first name, the one the hollow wore before language, before time." Elias stepped closer to the tunnel. "Why show me this?" "Because the door is opening again," his father said. "And this time, it wants more than whispers. It wants a vessel." "No," Elias said. "No. You said I could stop it." "You can," his father said, "but it'll cost everything. You can walk away and forget. Let the hollow take what it wants. Or you can face it, lock the door again. Then tell me how." "You already know how," his father said. "You just have to remember." Suddenly, the chamber shook. The masks on the wall rattled, the blue fire flared. "It's coming," his father said, stepping back into the shadows. "Whatever you choose, choose fast." The tunnel groaned. The door at the end began to bleed, and Elias ran toward it.